Hi everyone, and welcome to Grammar episode 25. Now today we're going to look at how to change from an active sentence in grammar to a passive sentence in grammar, and I'm going to put particular emphasis on the past simple form of passive. Let's have a look. Now first of all, the formula in positive, negative and question form always has the verb to be and a verb either in the third column of irregular verbs or ed if it's regular. Let's have a look. Now here you'll see all the grammar tenses from active to passive and how to change them using the verb to be. So pause the video and have a look at each formula for each grammar tense. And here we have some more formulas. So pause the video and make a note of all the formulas for changing active to passive. Now why do I use passive? I use passive when the action is more important than the person who did it, or I don't know who did it, or it's obvious. So really we're focusing more on the action and not the person who did it, because whatever comes first in a sentence is always more important. Let's have a look at what I mean. First of all, before we do that, I have to tell you that we have to use the word by to say who did the action. So, for example, Bob invented the TV. The TV was invented by Bob. But I use the word with to say that an object did the action. So he wrote the letter with his new pen, and in passive, the letter was written with his new pen. So a pen is not a human, so I can't use by. Okay, so I would use with. Now, very important, we keep phrasal verbs together when we have passive transformations. So we don't get rid of the preposition. We keep it on the verb. So my mother threw out the books. So out is your preposition and through is your verb. So I have to keep these two together, even in passive. So the books were thrown out by my mother. So make a note of that. Now, every sentence, whether it's active or passive, must have a subject, verb, and object. So Peter is my subject, ate is my verb, and sweets is my object. So we always need these three things in a sentence, always. Let's have a look at why this is important. Now here, the object of the active sentence becomes the subject of the passive sentence and vice versa. So have a look at these two examples. That subject became the object there in passive, and that object became the subject there in passive. The same thing here, the subject of the active sentence became the object of the passive sentence, and the object of the active sentence became the subject of the passive sentence. So pause the video and have a good look at these two examples and see how I changed from active to passive. Now you'll notice the order of the sentence in active moves forward. So the subject does the verb, but in passive, the object does the verb and the subject is affected by the verb. So you'll see one moves forwards, one moves backwards. So pause the video and have a good look at my arrows here. Now let's practice a little bit using the past simple form of passive, which is formed by was or were, depending on your subject, and my verb, either the third column of irregular verbs, or I just add ed if it's regular. So here are some examples. The black one is active, the red one is passive, and you'll see how I've changed these words. So pause the video and read each example carefully. Here's the next one. Black one is active, red one is passive. Here's the next one. Now I'm changing from passive and I'm moving back to active. So you'll note the red is the passive and the black is the active. So pause the video and see how I've transformed myself back to active from passive. Let's have a look at some more. From passive to active. Now I want you to test yourself. I'm going to give you some active sentences and you're going to transfer them into passive. So pause the video and complete this test. Change these sentences into passive. And now Let's check the answers. I hope you got them all correct. And now let's do another little test. Now let's change from passive back to active. So pause the video and complete this test. And now let's check the answers. Are you ready? Let's go. I hope you got them all correct. If not, keep practicing and good luck.